Hello my friends, welcome back to another video. My name is Ian with Out of This World Reader, and today's little adventure is going to be kind of the overall reading TBR for 2022. It's got some series, some authors I really want to check out, and then some books that I just have been dying to get to for some time. It will also include some reading goals that I have for just the year overall, and kind of just some channel updates as well. But I think without further ado, let's hop in with the books first, because that's just always the best thing about just booktube videos. So first off, I'll just go over the two series that I really want to get to this year, and I would say that they're pretty well known. I think a lot of people have already read them, and I'm kind of a little bit ashamed to be a fantasy fan and not have read these. But the first one is going to be The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. I mean, this is kind of like the classic fantasy that kind of set it up for just the authors to come forward, and I really want to just read it, not only for enjoyment, but for kind of my own writing as well, to kind of understand where the genre has came from, where it originated, and how it has kind of expanded over the years, and just everything that's kind of improved and at what initially kind of kicked it off. But I would really kind of like to read this series for both just enjoyment and helping me in writing, and then binge all the movies, because I've got all the whole Hobbit collection and the whole Lord of the Rings collection, but I haven't seen them. I haven't read the books, so I think it starts here with this. I'm not sure whether to start with The Hobbit, which is technically like the first book, or kind of The Return of the King. So if you have an opinion on where to start, please let me know. We then have another kind of series that is very popular, and another recommendation that I've received from a lot of friends, and it is A Song of Ice and Fire by George R.R. Martin. I've seen great reviews on this on Harriet's channel. I'll make sure to leave a link to those below. But seeing those reviews kind of intrigued me and kind of hyped me up to finally start this. I've been kind of wanting to for a while, but I felt like I should check out a lot of other adult fantasy books before kind of diving into something maybe that's a lot more complex. But this is another one that I really want to kind of binge a series and then watch the HBO kind of series that everyone kind of liked, and then towards the end it just got terrible from what I've heard. But I'm really interested to see where I'll fall on that spectrum, both on just on the book series and on the show. Here I do have a House Stark pendant just right over there on my wall, and I have no idea what about like House Stark other than Jon Snow. So I'm dying to get into this in the new year. Next up, we'll go over kind of the books that I really want to get into, and the first one is going to be, it's been on like a lot of TBRs last year, and I, for some reason, never picked it up. But this year, I'm finally going to pick it up. I think I'm going to do an audiobook version. I think that'll be kind of the best experience, and it's going to be A Gentleman in Moscow by Immortals. I've heard great things about the author and his other works, but this one kind of drew me in initially because of the time period that it kind of discusses, with just right after the kind of Russian Revolution and just a changing Russia. And this one kind of aristocrat is kind of put in house arrest, and he's kind of forced to watch the changes occur outside in Moscow and having to deal with all that. But I've heard that it also kind of packs in another kind of little punch. So I'm thinking that maybe it'll kind of be a little bit of Bachman in this as well. I don't know, but I'm just intrigued by both the time period, the aspects covered, and then just getting into more of the author's works. But speaking of Bachman, I've been really dying to get into more of his novels after finishing and loving Anxious People. So I thought I would go next and venture out with more of his novels and pick up A Man Called Ove, which is one that I've heard is one of his best ones. And I really enjoyed Anxious People, so I'm eager to see how this one kind of holds up to it. But I've heard this is one of his best ones, and I'm really dying to get into it. His books are always kind of like, they always pack a punch, and they'll like heartwarm you and like heartbreak you at the same time, and they touch on a lot of topics that are just relevant to today and everything going on. And I just love just his works as an author, and I've only read Anxious People, but I'm dying to get into more. So after reading this one, if you have any other great recommendations, please leave them down below. This next one is actually a new release, and it's by an author that I've read before and I really loved, and is going to be Cloud Cuckoo Land by Anthony Doerr. I loved All the Light We Cannot See, and just how it included these two perspectives on two sides of World War I. You had a German kind of soldier and then a blind young French girl, and just seeing how their perspectives kind of interconnected and tied together at the end, and just seeing how it all played out was heartbreaking. And I just loved his kind of style of writing, and I'm hoping that this one is just as good. It kind of takes place in Constantinople, kind of includes libraries and books, which, you know me, I love books. But I've also heard that it kind of gives feels of the Starless Sea, which is one of my favorite books. So I'm interested to see how kind of these different perspectives and timelines and this one will kind of play out and maybe connect all in the end. But that is another one that I'm really dying to get to. One that I haven't heard much about, but the few that I have seen absolutely have loved it, and it is Lonely Castle in the Mirror. Maybe I'm just kind of like not watching the right videos, but I haven't seen this recommended very much. And speaking of kind of like this book, I would also like to check out Howl's Moving Castle, because I've heard that this kind of provides similar vibes. But with Lonely Castle in the Mirror, I kind of like the setup of all these kids kind of going through something, whether it's kind of like bullying or just things going on in life, and having this kind of escape to this castle where within is something they're kind of looking for and can help them. But once they find it, and I believe only one of them can find it, then the castle kind of disappears forever. But it really sounds whimsical and just like a really blast of a read. So if you've read it, please let me know what you think about it. But after finishing that, I would also like to read Howl's Moving Castle, because I've heard that is just like a warm hug in a book. I just realized that this kind of TBR doesn't have very much fantasy. And I don't know, like, I guess I just figured that I would be picking up a lot of fantasy, but this book is kind of a little bit of an urban fantasy into Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia. She is one of kind of my favorite authors that I've recently discovered. I loved Mexican Gothic and Gods of Jade and Shadow. I still need to read Velvet is the Night, so I guess that can be included on here as well. But with Certain Dark Things, it's kind of vampires taking place in Mexico City. But that really intrigued me already, because Mexico City is a setting I really want to explore more. I feel like it's just like a rich and vibrant city that a lot can be explored and kind of included in a story. And then you add in vampires. That's all you need in a good book. And I think with her writing style and everything going on within her other works that I've enjoyed, I think this one will be just as good. The final kind of book that I would really like to read this year is kind of bummed me out that I haven't been included in all the talk discussed about it. And I think it's time that I finally pick it up and join all the conversation going on about it. And there's The House on the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. He just released the Under the Whispering Door, which is another one that I'm really intrigued in, but I really want to start in with this one first. Everyone that has read it has seemed to love it, and just the characters involved, like they really kind of connect with all the characters as well, with like Linus and understanding what's going on with him, as well as with all the children. One of my friends that kind of picked it up, they actually said that it kind of reminded them of a little bit of Bachman, but fantasy. So if you include those two, I think it would just make a perfect book, and I think that I will love this one and love Under the Whispering Door just as much. And then finally, I'll go over kind of two authors that I really want to check out more from over this year. The first one is going to be Marie Lu, and I've heard great things about her kind of YA series. And speaking of kind of just overall kind of channel goals that I'll go over here pretty soon, I am hoping to kind of journey and venture out farther into adult fantasy. So I'm going to be very picky about what I pick up in YA this year and just from now on. But I've heard great things about her kind of YA books. I do have Legend, which I believe is one of her best works, or kind of best rated works that she's kind of produced. But this is kind of like a YA sci-fi dystopia. But this came out when a lot of those were hitting the shelves, so I'm interested to see how this will kind of compare to The Hunger Games and some other ones that were released around the time. But also, she also has like Sky Hunter, which almost sounds pretty similar to Skyward, and I love Skyward. And Sky Hunter is actually a duology, and I believe it's completed. So that is another one I really want to pick up. The Elites, there's just so many that I want to check out from her, and I've heard that her writing style is beautiful, and just the stories are just a blast as well. And that second author is going to be Neil Gaiman. I feel like the community is kind of drawn between him. I feel like more people do enjoy his works, but there's also some that don't like his work. So I'm very interested to see kind of where I'll I'll fall on this kind of spectrum. I've heard he is a very kind of great storyteller, but I've heard that his kind of tales that he crafts are very whimsical and just a blast to read. If you have any great recommendations to start with him, please let me know, because the only one that I've heard so far is The Ocean at the End of the Lane, I believe. Another one I've heard is Stardust, but I have no idea, honestly. The only thing I've read by him, or listened to anyway, is his comic series, The Sandman, which I really enjoyed. So I'm hoping that since I enjoyed that, which was very dark, that I'll enjoy kind of more of his whimsical kind of stories that he makes. And finally, I'll go over a couple different reading goals as well as channel updates. First up, I'm going to try and post at least 2 videos a week, Tuesday and Saturday. But these last 2 semesters of my undergrad are going to be quite an adventure. I'll be taking senior thesis this semester, and then I'll be taking over a full load in the summer to graduate, so I can kind of go to grad school in the fall. But so it's gonna be a rough time, I feel. So I'm gonna try and post at least 2 videos a week. But as far as kind of reading goals go, I set my reading challenge on Goodreads to 100 books, but that if I don't hit that, that's totally fine, because I really want to kind of branch out and do more video games. I want to get back into those, because I do love video games, and with school and everything, I've just been choosing reading over kind of books, but I think I'm going to try and create like a healthy balance. And then I also kind of want to just go out and explore my area that I live in, because I might not be here in the fall. I might move away for grad school, so I want to kind of get out and explore and kind of just live a little bit more. I feel like these last couple years since like COVID happened, I've been just stuck inside of my apartment just doing school, so I want to go out and live life. I would also like to read at least 1 classic every 2 months. I feel like that is a very reasonable goal. I'm not sure where to kind of start with classics. I've been saying that I'm going to read War and Peace for some time, so maybe that is the first one to start with. I also have like Frankenstein on my physical TBR, as well as The Picture of Dorian Gray, which is another one that I've heard is a great kind of entryway into classics. If you have any great kind of starting points, please let me know. And the last kind of 2 goals that I'd really like to get done this year is to just lower the amount of books that I buy and the physical TBR that I have, because it is starting to add up. And I just need to go through my shelves and see what I'll read and what I won't, and kind of donate the books that I won't. But I would also like to kind of finish up and conclude a bunch of series that I've gotten in the middle of. Most of the time, like, I'm really good, but I would like to kind of narrow it down to just like maybe under 3 that are finished that I could kind of finish off, and then just maybe a couple that are ongoing. That way I kind of have them all fresh in my mind. But I don't know, because a lot of books that I really want to start are new series, so we'll see how that goal goes. But I think getting down the physical TBR can be well accomplished. But that is going to be all for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you in the next adventure. So if you did enjoy, please consider liking and subscribing so you never miss out on another adventure. But it is time for Ellie to come on here and first wish you to have a splendid day. But she also says that adventure is out there. So I'll catch you next time. Bye.